Wondering what corned means, why the can's that shape, or what cut of beef it is? Don't worry, we'll break it all down for you. The term corned beef can be misleading. There's no actual corn involved. The corned part refers to the large grains of rock salt traditionally used to cure the meat. The word corn originally came from the Proto-Germanic kernum, meaning a seed or grain. Because the chunks of salt used in preservation were about the size of grains, they were called corns of salt. This usage of corn dates back well over 1,000 years, with written references to corned appearing as early as the 9th century. Long before Europeans encountered maize in the Americas, corn was a general term in English for any type of grain. When colonists arrived in the New World and encountered maize, they referred to it as Indian corn, a name that stuck for a while. Meanwhile, the term corned beef began circulating in the 1600s, when English traders used it to describe salted Irish beef. So interestingly, corned beef got its name long before maize became known simply as corn in the US. Spam played a major role in feeding US troops during World War II, with 150 million pounds served. Its shelf stability made it ideal for combat, no refrigeration needed, and it's ready to eat straight from the can, making it a convenient wartime staple.
I don't like Spam! Don't make a fuss, dear. I'll have your Spam. I love it. I'm having Spam.
So how did Spam influence the rise of canned corned beef? According to the Jewish News, Israel's military wanted to provide its soldiers with tinned meat, but Spam, made from pork, wasn't kosher. In response, the Israeli Defense Forces created their own kosher version, canned corned beef known as loof. Loof became a long-standing military staple, prized for its long shelf life. It remained in use well into the 21st century. In fact, one soldier claimed in 2011 that he ate a can older than himself, and it was still edible. The distinctive trapezoidal can that corned beef comes in today dates back to 1875, when Arthur A. Libby of Chicago patented the design. Its unusual shape wasn't just for aesthetics. Trapezoidal cans stack more efficiently than round ones, making them ideal for mass distribution, especially in military supply chains where space and cost mattered. Though corned beef is no longer a staple of military rations, the packaging has stood the test of time. Manufacturers have seen little need to change a design that's been functional for nearly 150 years. Interestingly, while a rectangular can would offer similar stacking benefits, the angled shape of a corned beef tin actually makes it easier to remove the meat intact. The tapered sides help release the densely packed contents without breaking them apart. No other food product has adopted this odd-shaped container. So when you spot that trapezoidal can in the store, there's no mistaking what's inside. While corned beef has European origins, it's in the Philippines where the canned variety enjoys true star status. There, it's a beloved breakfast staple, often served sizzling with eggs and white rice in a meal known as corned beef silog. It holds a cultural place similar to that of bacon in the United States. Comforting, familiar, and always welcome at the breakfast table. One reason for its popularity may be the quality of the product itself. Unlike the finely minced versions common elsewhere, the preferred brand in the Philippines, Palm, imported from New Zealand, features shredded beef with a texture more like pulled pork, offering a heartier and more satisfying bite. In the US, canned corned beef isn't quite as celebrated, but it still has its place. According to The Nibble, most Americans enjoy it in the form of corned beef hash, a diner classic that mixes chopped salted beef with potatoes, onions, and seasonings, typically fried up and served hot for a filling breakfast. Historically, beef hasn't been a staple in Irish diets, despite the country's deep ties to cattle. In ancient Gaelic culture, cows were considered sacred and valued more for their milk than their meat. As a result, most farmers avoided slaughtering them. Beef was a luxury enjoyed mainly by the elite, while pork, more affordable and readily available, served as the primary source of animal protein for the general population.
What can I say? I am a man of great taste.
Very funny.
Large-scale beef production in Ireland didn't begin until the English conquest in the 1500s, when cattle were raised for export. In the 1600s, England banned fresh beef exports from Ireland, prompting landowners to pivot to salted, preserved beef instead. This shift turned Cork into a global hub for corned beef production, a role it maintained for nearly 200 years. Canned food owes its existence to the French Revolution, when the government launched a search for a reliable way to feed soldiers without spoilage. Inventor Nicolas Appert discovered that sealing food in containers and boiling them for several hours preserved it safely for long periods. He used glass jars, but the British quickly adapted his process, patenting a version using tin-coated iron cans in 1810, the same year Appert published his method. There was just one snag. No one had invented a can opener yet. For decades, soldiers and civilians alike had to pry open cans with chisels, knives, or even by shooting them open in desperation. The first U.S. can opener patent wasn't issued until 1858, over 40 years after canned food began its rise as a military staple. The real game changer came in 1866 with the introduction of self-opening cans, especially for corned beef. With easier access and long shelf life, corned beef shifted from battlefield rations to a household pantry item, firmly embedding itself in everyday diets across the world. The rise of modern corned beef is closely tied to British colonialism, particularly the conquest of Ireland. English landlords in Ireland profited immensely from the salted beef trade, to the extent that they were even allowed to sell it to rival nations like France. Both colonial powers used corned beef to supply their overseas territories, distributing it throughout Africa and the Americas as a durable, protein-rich staple. As Time highlights in its examination of Spam's legacy in Asia, canned meats often carry a complicated legacy in formerly colonized countries. These foods were introduced during times of occupation and conflict, yet they also provided crucial nourishment during hardship and food shortages. While many Westerners now dismiss canned meats as cheap or outdated, in countries like the Philippines, corned beef has been embraced and adapted into beloved local dishes. What began as a colonial import has since been transformed into a national comfort food. Ironically, it's now Western food lovers who are discovering and celebrating the inventive, flavorful recipes that were born from necessity. By the late 19th century, Ireland's dominance in corned beef production waned, and by World War II, South America took the lead, particularly Uruguay. In 1943, Uruguay produced a staggering 16 million tins of corned beef. However, the growing demand for cattle, especially in Brazil, has contributed to the ongoing deforestation of the Amazon. Ranchers supplying major meat producer JBS have been implicated in illegal activities that destroy large areas of rainforest. In response to food safety concerns, countries like Jamaica imposed temporary bans on Brazilian corned beef in 2017. This followed reports that some producers were selling spoiled meat while bribing inspectors to overlook violations, sparking international alarm. Canned corned beef, unlike deli-style slices that come from beef brisket, often contains meat from various, less commonly used cuts. The ingredients list for products like Hormel corned beef, according to Innit, is surprisingly simple, with only 6 components, mainly everyday kitchen staples, plus a couple of preservatives for shelf life. However, the meat in these cans could come from almost any part of the cow, including areas not typically consumed in the U.S. In the U.S., the term beef allows for a wide range of cuts, including diaphragm, esophagus, blood vessels, nerves, and sinew, though it can't include large amounts of bone. While organs like liver, lungs, and tripe are excluded, smaller bone fragments that accompany muscle tissue are acceptable. While the thought of eating such mystery meat may be unsettling, it's worth noting that if you've ever eaten a hot dog, Slim Jim, or similar processed food, you've probably already consumed parts of an animal that you wouldn't normally cook at home. So while the exact composition of canned corned beef might be unclear, it's far from the only processed food that involves some creative butchering.
Need a long statement? Never do it, Slim Jim!
Like many cured meats, canned corned beef contains sodium nitrite, a preservative that plays a crucial role in extending its shelf life. According to the BBC, sodium nitrite helps eliminate harmful bacteria during the curing process, allowing the meat to remain safe at room temperature. It also gives corned beef its signature pink color, even after cooking. While nitrites help prevent foodborne illness, they may have long-term health implications. Research suggests that daily consumption of preserved meats may slightly increase the risk of cancer, though nitrites are just one potential carcinogen found in red meat. In fact, vegetables provide a higher proportion of dietary nitrites than meats do. Interestingly, nitrites might also have benefits, such as improving cardiovascular health, but more research is needed to understand their full impact. Despite the possible benefits, it's wise to enjoy corned beef in moderation, as it also contains significant amounts of sodium and saturated fat, in addition to nitrites. Thus, it's best savored as an occasional indulgence rather than a daily staple. Libby's canned pumpkin is a staple on supermarket shelves every fall, as Americans indulge in their seasonal pumpkin cravings. While it's possible to cook and puree fresh pumpkin for pie, most people prefer the convenience and consistent flavor of the canned variety. Libby's uses Dickinson pumpkins, a special squash that grows only in the area around Morton, Illinois. These pumpkins are naturally sweet and make for the perfect pie filling. However, Libby's origins are in a different canned product: corned beef. The company was founded in 1868 by Arthur and Charles Libby, along with their partner Archibald McNeil. They revolutionized the canned beef industry, introducing innovations like the tapered can and refrigerated trucks. In the early 1900s, Libby's expanded into other canned goods, including sauerkraut, A1 sauce, and a variety of fruits and vegetables. The company acquired the brand behind canned Dickinson pumpkin in 1930, and the product has carried the Libby's name ever since. The British pioneered canned corned beef in the early 19th century to preserve and export Irish cattle. However, Jewish deli-style corned beef, the kind famously served on rye with mustard, has much older roots. Curing meat in brine is an ancient Jewish practice, dating back to the time of the Hebrews. They began pickling meat as part of the observance of Tisha B'Av, a day of mourning for the destruction of the temple in Jerusalem. The tradition of curing red meat continued for centuries, maintaining a connection to this solemn occasion. In the 1800s, Jewish Germans, inspired by French charcuterie, began running delicatessens, where they offered cured meats like corned beef. As Jewish Germans fled to America to escape persecution, they brought their culinary traditions with them, opening delis across the country and serving corned beef brisket. These immigrants often settled near Irish communities, many of whom had worked in the corned beef industry back in Ireland. Irish Americans began buying their corned beef from kosher butchers, which helped cement the connection between corned beef and Irish identity in America.